हो सर. हॅलो, करू चालू? हो, ओके. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to our wonderful channel. Today, we are going to talk about the impact of pollutants on human health and natural and energy resources. This is from the 9th section of our set exam. So, welcome once again. If you like this particular teaching, if you like this particular video, please like it, subscribe it, and also you can share it if you find it of use to you. Okay. So the impact of pollutants on human health. We've been looking onto so many different ways in which human beings pollute the planet or the earth, and we have seen the various kinds of pollutions by which people get affected, and ultimately it is the people who get affected by the different kinds of pollutions and the different kinds of activities that human beings do. So there are a few kinds of pollution which we have already seen. Just to go back as a revision, we see the first one is air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, radioactive pollution, and light pollution. Okay, now we are going to see the different impacts of these particular pollutants of air, water, soil, noise, radioactive, and light pollution on human health. So let's move on to the next topic, that is air pollution and human health. Air pollution releases harmful gases and substances that are poisonous for human beings. We see when there is a pollution in the air, we see that when do we say that there is air pollution? When there are harmful gases in the air or in the atmosphere, and these are the substances which are poisonous for human beings. Air pollution basically affects our skin as well as our respiratory system. So the different poisonous gases that are there: sulfur, tropospheric ozone, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, suspended particulate matter. So these are the different gases and the different kinds of air pollution that we are going to look into. Now, what are the consequences of air pollution on human health? The first one is respiratory diseases. We see that there are so many respiratory diseases like asthma, bronchitis, breathing problems, allergies, which are basically caused because of the polluted air. And when we take in polluted air into our system, we see that we are taking poisonous gases into our lungs, and because of which there are so many different kinds of diseases, especially the respiratory diseases that are caused. Especially people who live in the industrial sector, where so many poisonous gases are released every day from the industries. Those people are prone to have certain kinds of diseases, especially the respiratory diseases, and their lungs get damaged very badly. Also, people living in cities where there is so much of air pollution caused because of the burning of hydrocarbons, which is a basic result of the cars or because of the combustion that is caused. We see that people staying in the urban areas or in the cities, they also are very much prone to respiratory diseases. Then we have got cardiovascular damage. Even the heart and the cardiovascular system gets damaged very badly because of the air pollution. See, air is life for us, isn't it? Just as water is life for the fish, without water, the fish cannot live. In the same way, we see that air is life for us. If we do not get oxygen, if we do not get air to breathe, naturally we'll be strangled to death. So air is life for us, and if we are polluted, we take in polluted air, naturally every system of our body gets damaged because air is life for us. Then cardiovascular damage is also done because of polluted air. Then we see fatigue, headaches, and anxiety. You get tired, then sudden headaches, continuous headaches, anxiety, mental impact is also caused because of polluted air. Then irritation of the eyes, nose, and the throat, especially people who are staying somewhere very close to the industrial areas where chemical factories are there, and when these gases are released into the atmosphere, naturally the eyes become red, they start itching, there is irritation, they start watering. Nose and throat also gets irritated because of this polluted air. Then damage to the reproductive organs. We see that the reproductive organs of human beings are also damaged because of polluted air. Then it also harms our liver. Liver is a very important organ of our body, and air pollution also hampers or harms our liver. Then it also causes damage to the nervous system. To the brain and to the nerves, it causes great damage. People living in urban areas are the sufferers as they are most exposed to this air pollution. So we see that people who stay in cities and in crowded places, they are the main sufferers of the air pollution. So this is basically the consequences that we see because of air pollution. Now, what causes air pollution? We see tobacco smoke. Tobacco smoke is basically caused because of smoking cigarettes or bidis. It generates harmful chemicals and causes cancer to the smoker. It also affects the passive smoker, like burning sensation in the eyes or nose, throat irritation, etc. Now we see tobacco is on all the cigarette packets. It is written that tobacco is injurious for health. And today and in recent times, you also see the photos are printed on gutka or on tobacco packets or on cigarette packets as to they show how a person is suffering from cancer. So this is just to avoid people from using tobacco products. So tobacco smell, which is generated basically because of cigarettes and bidis and hookahs and pipes, we see that they generate harmful chemicals, and it certainly causes cancer to the smoker. Not only is the smoker affected, but people who are around the person who's smoking, they also feel very much congested. They also get a burning sensation in their eyes and their nose, and also their throat gets irritated. We see that people who are in the company of people who smoke, they are as good as if they are smoking or they are also using cigarette and smoking. Not only tobacco causes cancer, but it also is responsible to cause so many lung diseases. So tobacco smoke causes problems for the smoker as well as for the people who are around that particular person. Volatile organic compounds, they can cause irritation to the eyes, throat, nose, headaches, and nausea. They even can damage the liver and other parts of the body. So other organic products, compounds, when they are mixed in the air and when we breathe that particular air, it causes damage or irritation to the eyes and throat. It gives us headaches and nausea, and at the same time they damage the liver and other parts of the body. Then lead, the exposure damages the nervous system, digestive problems, cancer. It is also dangerous to small children. So lead is also a chemical which causes damage to the nervous system as well as the digestive system of human beings. And the most dangerous kind of air pollution is found in our own houses. And what is this particular pollution? Well, for mosquito, we use mosquito repellents like Good Night and all those things. When we burn those particular products, they do kill mosquitoes or they keep mosquitoes away from us. But at the same time, that smoke or that smell which is released into our bedrooms, almost 8 to 9 hours, we are continuously breathing in and breathing out that polluted smoke or that polluted or that harmful chemical smoke, by which our lungs are surely getting irritated. And that is why when we get up in the morning, we are not fresh, we have got a slight headache, people get cold and cough, people also get irritation in their eyes and nose after the sleep, because they have inhaled the poisonous smoke of the different kinds of mosquito repellents. Then we have ozone. The exposure to this gas causes itching on the eyes, burning and watery. It also increases respiratory disorders like asthma. It also lowers the resistance to colds and pneumonia. So ozone gas also causes a lot of problems for human beings. It is responsible for increasing respiratory disorders. It causes asthma, and it also lowers our body resistance or our immunity to cold and to pneumonia. Then nitrogen oxide. This gas makes the children disposed to respiratory diseases in winters. Then carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide combines with hemoglobin and lessen the required oxygen that enters our blood through lungs. This causes changes in the function of the affected organs like the brain and cardiovascular system. It also affects the concentration level, makes one sleepy. Carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas, and when a person inhales this particular carbon monoxide gas, sometimes it also results in the death of that particular person. And what is the main how does carbon monoxide work? Carbon monoxide gets, when we breathe in, this carbon monoxide is inhaled along with the air. It goes directly into our lungs, and then it mixes with the oxygen. And when the oxygen gets mixed into our bloodstreams through our lungs, we see that this poisonous gas moves all over into our system, and this affects our brain and cardiovascular system. Then the next gas that we have is sulfur dioxide. This sulfur dioxide is released on a very large scale because of the burning. Sulfur dioxide in the air are caused due to the increase in the burning of fossil fuels. It causes diseases of lungs and other lung disorders like wheezing and shortness of breath. So sulfur dioxide, another poisonous gas, it is caused because of the burning of fossil fuels. What are fossil fuels? It is like coal and petroleum, diesel and oil. These are fossil fuels, and when these are burnt, a large amount of sulfur dioxide is released into the air or into the atmosphere. Then suspended particles, particulate matter, SPM, they consist of dust, mist, fumes and smoke. The main components of SPM that affects the health are lead, nickel, arsenic and those present in diesel exhaust. When we breathe these particles, it affects our lungs, causing lung damage and respiratory problems. Now, what is suspended particulate matter, SPM? It is a mixture of dust, mist, fumes, and smoke. And the main components of this SPM is that affects the health are lead, nickel, arsenic, and those present in diesel exhaust. And that is why we see that government is trying to ban all the production of new diesel vehicles, because it is very harmful for the health. So when we breathe it, these particles also go inside our lungs and they cause damage and problems for our respiratory system. Then the next pollutant is the water pollution. Water pollution and its impact on human health. If the water resources like the lake, rivers, streams are polluted and contaminated, it will affect our health. If we drink water polluted, then diseases like amoebiasis, typhoid, and hookworm will affect our health. Now we see that water is also something which is required for our body. Pure water is required for our body, and then we see that if the water resources like lakes, rivers, and streams from where water is pulled out and pumped into our houses as drinking waters, if this water itself is polluted and contaminated, then it will always cause waterborne diseases among the population. If we drink polluted water, then diseases like amoebiasis, typhoid, and hookworm will affect our health. Water is polluted by chemicals like heavy metals, lead, pesticides, and hydrocarbon. It causes hormonal and reproductive problems, damages the nervous system, liver, as well as the kidneys. Exposure to mercury causes diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and death. So, water pollution is also one of the deadliest pollutions. If you drink polluted water, it is just like drinking some kind of poison. It is taking some kind of poison into our body. So, water which is polluted by chemicals, especially lead, and then we see pesticides, and other hydrocarbons. It causes hormonal changes in a person. Then it also damages our nervous system, our liver, as well as our kidneys. Then exposure to mercury causes diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, as well as heart disease, which are killer diseases or which leads to death. If the sea beaches are polluted, then diseases like rashes, hepatitis, gastroenteritis, diarrhea, stomach aches, and vomiting will happen. Water pollution also affects our marine life, which is one of the food sources. Now we see that when the seawater is polluted, then naturally the fish living in that polluted water also get affected. The pesticides or the heavy metals or the pollutants also enter into the system or into the bodies of the fish. And when we consume this fish or any sea products which live in polluted water, then this kind of chemicals and poisonous elements, they enter into our system. So when the the affected fish enters into the food chain, human beings suffer very badly. Then we have the next one, soil pollution and human health. We see that how soil pollution affects the human health. Use of chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and fertilizers are the main factors. Here we see that when chemicals like pesticides and herbicides, insecticides, as well as fertilizers are used in the soil gets polluted. And that is why the government is encouraging farmers to go for organic farming. They do not want the farmers to use the chemicals or the fertilizers and the insecticides because when the soil gets polluted, the different kind of food also gets polluted. It enters into our food chain, and because of which it affects our human health. The breaking of underground storage tank. Sometimes we see that when the underground storage tank is broken or it leaks, then this water, which is polluted water, it goes into the soil and it pollutes the soil. Then leakage of waste from landfills. Many a times, many a times, all the dirt and all the garbage that is taken from our houses is dumped in one particular area. And this particular garbage contains chemicals, pesticides, and different kinds of germs and bacteria and chemicals. So when during the time of rains, this waste material gets mixed with water, and the solution, the water goes into the land or into the soil, and which causes soil pollution. Then direct discharge of industrial waste. We see that many a times industries directly discharge their waste. They do not process their waste, and because of which, if it is let on the fields or on the soil naturally gets polluted to a greater extent. Then harmful irrigation practices. We see irrigation also sometimes pollutes the soil. Leakages from sanitary sewage, acid rain falling onto the soil. We have seen what is acid rain. When the atmosphere is polluted, when the air is polluted with chemicals, and when the rain falls during the rainy season, the drops of rain, they get mixed with these gases and with these particles, and it results into something called as acid rains. Then fuel leakage of automobiles that soak on into the soil. Then sometimes fuels leakage of automobiles. So many cars and so many trucks, trains, they move on the ground, and we see that if there is some kind of fuel leakage, that goes into directly into the soil, and it causes a kind of soil pollution. So here we see the different kinds of soil pollutions and how it impacts our human health. Soil pollution can have harmful effects on ecosystems, human beings and plants. It can harm the water and food which are in direct contact with the polluted soil. So naturally, when the soil is polluted, the entire ecosystem is polluted or is harmed. Human beings and plants are also harmed. Then we see that water and food gets into direct contact with this pollution, with this polluted soil. Soil pollution happens when toxic chemicals, pollutants, and contaminants in the soil are high, causing risk to the plants, wildlife, human beings, and to the soil. Then we move on to the next kind of pollution, which is the noise pollution. We see that in urban areas or in cities, we see that we are exposed to a lot of noise pollution. So knowingly or unknowingly, our mental health gets disturbed very badly. The main causes of noise. What are the main causes of noise pollution? Industrialization, poor urban planning, social events, transportation, construction activities, household chores. So we see that industrialization plays a very important role. Whenever you pass near the industries, you will hear a lot of noise. Then we also see poor urban planning. The cities are not well planned. Then the social events like marriages and processions, these are where huge music or big kind of music is played. It also causes a huge kind of sound or noise pollution. Then transportation. Vehicles are moving up and down, especially people living near the airport and the railway station. They cannot sleep well because continuously this kind of noise disturbs them. Then construction activities. If constructions are going around near our homes and houses, we see that we are affected very badly. Then household chores. We do so many activities in a house by which also big amount of noise is released and people get disturbed. Now, noise pollution causes health issues like hearing problems, sleeping disorders, cardiovascular issues, trouble in communicating. So, what are the main causes of noise pollution? We see that hearing problems, sleeping disorders, People are not able to hear. People, their hearing senses get weakened day by day. People are not able to sleep properly. It naturally results in the cardiovascular diseases and trouble in communicating. The radioactive pollution and human health. We see that radioactive pollution and human health is also a very big kind of challenge. Now, what is radioactive pollution? Uh, Radioactive pollution happens when there is the presence of radioactive materials in the environment caused by the emission of harmful radiations like alpha or beta particles or gamma rays. So, when there is radioactive materials in the atmosphere, they emit harmful radiations of alpha, beta, and gamma rays. So, because of which and radioactive pollution is one of the most deadliest form of pollution. Nuclear accidents from nuclear energy generation plants. So second way in which radioactive pollution takes place, if there is a nuclear accident, you all must have heard about the Chernobyl disaster in Russia, or the Fukushima reactor leakages, nuclear reactor leakages when the tsunami had hit Japan. So we see that it led to the radioactive leakage into the atmosphere, because of which hundreds of people died in Chernobyl and people were evacuated, and till today nobody can stay in and around the Chernobyl region. At the same time, in Fukushima also, we see that when because of the tsunami and how that nuclear reactor was affected, we see that people were evacuated from that place. The radiation levels were quite high over there. The use of nuclear weapons for mass destruction. Now, nuclear weapons basically uses radioactive materials like uranium and plutonium for the manufacture of bombs. So when these nuclear devices are exploded, the world has only seen the nuclear disaster in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but we see that there are also countries which are continuously testing their nuclear weapon system, like nuclear weapons as well as thermonuclear weapons, which is causing lot of radioactive pollution. Then mining also causes lot of radioactive pollution. Spillage of radioactive chemicals. If radioactive chemicals are by mistake they are released into the or exposed into the atmosphere, they are also causing lot of radioactive pollution. Then test on radiation as well as cosmic rays. So these are the different ways in which radioactive pollution takes place, and it harms the human body to a greater extent. Now, what are the major effects of radioactive pollution? Genetic mutations take place. Diseases like cancer, people get cancer and other diseases. Infertility in soils, cell destruction. So these are all the different major effects of radioactive pollution. Then we move to another kind of pollution, which is the light pollution, and how light affects human health. Adverse effects of light pollution. The cause of light pollution is mainly due to industrialization, modernization. Following are the adverse effects of light pollution. Over illumination causes headaches, fatigue, stress, and anxiety. Now we see that we all require light, but excess amount of light. Like take for example, you are going on the road in the night, and and if there is a vehicle which is coming right in front of you, having big lights, naturally your eyes get dim, you're not able to see anything for some time. So this is because of the excessive amount of light which is generated. Now, what are the adverse effects of light pollution? Over illumination causes headache, fatigue, stress, and anxiety. Light trespass during night causes the sleeping disorder. Now, when there is excess of light, people cannot sleep. Glaring on outdoor lights decreases our vision, and the chances of accidents increases. So when the lights are very powerful, that is one of the main causes why accidents take place in the night. So these are all the different kinds of pollutions that we have seen. Now we move on to the next topic, that is natural and energy resources. We see that the earth has given human beings so many different kinds of natural resources. Everything that we get from nature is basically a natural resource. Natural water and water, natural energy resources, they are exhaustible, like petrol, coal, wood, etc. And the other one is inexhaustible, like the solar, wind, water, tidal energy. So, so all these natural energy resources are divided into two parts, that is exhaustible, and the second one is inexhaustible. Then we see the renewable resources, which can be regenerated naturally. Like take for example, we all require wood for furniture and for burning. So people break down the trees and the tree dies. But then another tree can be planted. So we see that there is a natural regeneration of wood. But take for example wood or coal. Take for example petrol or coal. When it is removed from the earth, it cannot be replenished or it cannot be regenerated. So what are non-renewable resources? They cannot be replaced or regenerated after use. So we have to use the natural resources in a very wise way so that our future generations will also be able to enjoy those natural resources. Then what are the different types of energy resources? We see conventional non-renewable energy. This is the first one. They are the fossil fuels like coal, oil, natural gas, etc. These are conventional, non-renewable. They cannot be renewed. Then the second one is conventional renewable energy. For example, wood, cattle dung, farm waste, etc. So this is also falls under the conventional energy and they can be renewed. Non-conventional energy is what? Solar, tidal, wind, nuclear, hydrogen, geothermal, biomass, tidal, biofuel, etc. So these are the non-conventional energies. Countries of the world are moving towards taking more and or deriving more and more energy from these non-conventional energy resources. Why? Because they are infinite in nature. Like solar, the sun gives continuous energy. Water also generates energy. Wind is a continuous process and it also gives continuous energy when derived from it. Then we'll move on to the conventional sources of energy. The energy which is available to us for ages and very easily cable is called conventional energy. So energy which has been available to us for ages and which we have been using on a regular basis right from past generations. This is termed as the conventional energy. These are like the fossil fuels, like wood, coal, petrol, diesel. These are all fossil fuels. These are present in limited quantity, not abundant in nature. So these fossil fuels are not found everywhere, isn't it? In every country, we do not have fossil fuels. India produces only 25 to 30% of fuel, that is fossil fuel or oil and natural gas, but we have to import 70% of our fossil fuels. The countries which are having a lot of fossil fuels or which have got dense fossil fuels are like the Gulf region, then Russia, and some parts of Africa. So these fossil fuels are in limited quantity. They are not abundant in nature, and at the same time, they are not distributed equally in nature. Conventional sources of energy are also called the non-renewable sources of energy. So these conventional sources of energy, which we have been using from ages and ages, it is also non-renewable source of energy. Conventional source of energy is further divided into two parts. So, very important, conventional sources cannot be regenerated. They are not renewable sources of energy. That means one day they will get over. So conventional source of energy is further divided into two parts: conventional non-renewable energy, conventional renewable energy. So what is non-conventional sources of energy? The energy which is obtained from natural resources like wind, tides, solar, biomass, etc. are called non-conventional source of energy. These are pollution free and hence we can use these to produce a clean form of energy. Now what is non-conventional forms of energy or non-conventional sources of energy? So these are obtained from natural resources which are infinite, like the wind, which keeps on flowing and blowing all 24/7. Then the tides, sea tides, then the sun, then the biomass. These are all non-conventional sources of energy. These are also have an infinite source. These are pollution free. They do not cause any kind of pollution, and hence we can use these to produce a clean form of energy. And because they are pollution free, we see that to save our earth from global warming, to save our earth from climate change, countries of the world are going towards this pollution free clean sources of energy or non-conventional sources of energy. We see that most of the countries are going towards solar energy. They are going towards different kinds of energies which do not create pollution. They are stopping the traditional or the conventional sources of energy like burning of wood, coal and petroleum. Therefore, greater use of non-conventional source of energy should be promoted. So all the countries of the world are now promoting non-conventional sources of energy. Then we move on to what is fossil fuels. These are made from decomposing plants and animals. These are products of a series of biological, chemical, and physical transformations of plants and animals that remain over millions of years. Coal is the most abundant fossil fuel widely used for combustion in cooking and industrial activities. Now, what are fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are basically non-renewable kinds of fuels or energy. We see they are also conventional forms of energy. And how these are made? These are made from when plants and animals get decomposed, and when a series of biological, chemical, and physical transformation takes place over a period of millions of years, then these fossil fuels are generated. The most abundant or the most common fossil fuel is coal, which is widely used for combustion in cooking and industrial activities. The second one is also called as petroleum, is also called as the rock oil. It is a liquid form present in the upper crust of the earth. Like coal, petroleum is derived from the biological and chemical transformation of plants and animal debris over millions of years. It is the combination of hydrocarbons. So petroleum is also a non-renewable kind of conventional form of energy that we use. Petroleum can get exhausted. Petroleum is also called as the rock oil. It is found in the upper crust of the earth. Then how is petroleum derived? Just like coal, when biological and chemical transformations of plants and animal debris takes place over millions of years, then this petroleum is formed. It is a combination of the different forms of hydrocarbons. Then we see natural gas. It occurs in the underground reservoirs of porous rocks. It emits carbon dioxide. Then biomass energy, when plants and animal materials is used as fuel to produce electricity or heat, it is called biomass energy. So what is biomass energy? When plant and animal material is used as fuel to produce electricity or heat, it is called as biomass energy. We all are aware of biogas. Bio means living being and mass means material. So energy obtained by using mass of living beings, plants and animals is called as biomass. Now what is the example of biomass? Wood, corn, soybean, crop residues, organic waste. We can burn biomass directly to produce heat and electricity. Like corn, we can burn wood, we can burn soybean oil. Crop residues, they also produced different kinds of gases which can be burnt. So we can burn biomass directly to produce heat and electricity. Then types of non-conventional sources of energy. Now, what are the different kinds of non-conventional sources of energy? The first one is the solar energy, hydel energy, wind energy, nuclear energy, hydrogen energy, geothermal energy, biogas, tidal energy, and biofuels. So we'll move on to the first one from the non-conventional source of energy. The first one is the solar energy. Now, what is solar energy? Energy that we get from the sun. It is created by harnessing the power produced by the sun. We see that the sun is emitting light and heat from thousands, from millions of years. It is an infinite source of heat and light energy. Okay, so photovoltaic cells convert the energy captured from the sun into electricity. Now, what are photovoltaic cells? They convert the light energy from the sun into electricity. Recent advances in efficiency have resulted in staggering improvements and growth in its use. It is available almost everywhere and free from the political barrier. This can solve the problem of no electricity in remote areas and poor countries which are otherwise deprived of electricity. Now we see that solar energy is the cheapest form of energy because we can harness this free energy from the sun. The different kind of photovoltaic cells which are required, or the different kinds of sheets which are required to capture the sunlight and create into electricity, only that requires some kind of cost. And we see that it is a continuous source of energy. Now, sunlight is available, or solar energy is available almost everywhere on the planet. So this can solve the problem of no electricity in remote areas and in poor countries also. We see that in villages and in different places where the electricity wires have not gone, or people who were living in darkness for ages and ages together, the government of India is now giving them solar panels by which they are able to generate light, and they are able to run their water pumps for their agriculture. They are able to lighten their houses, and so many activities they can do because of these solar panels. Solar panels reach to places where the electric wires have not reached. China produces 205 gigawatts of energy from the sun. It is the biggest producer of solar energy, followed by the United States, 76 gigawatts, and Japan, 63.22 gigawatts. So these are the countries which are major producers of solar energy, which is derived from the sun. So the solar energy has got a great future. So much of research and development is being done to make the solar panels, to make photovoltaic cells, and to develop batteries which will store this particular energy. Now it is a project of most of the countries, wherein the terraces of people will be occupied by the by these solar panels, which will generate energy which they can use into their own houses. So they will not need electricity from the board; they can generate their own electricity. The next form of energy is the hydro energy. Power obtained through the movement of water, typically gravitational. This is also known as water energy or hydel energy. We have got a lot of hydel projects in India. That means how this water energy is used to turn the turbines and to derive electricity. The use of fast running water to produce electricity or to power use is called hydro energy. It is obtained by converting the kinetic form of energy into the mechanical form of energy. The generation of hydroelectricity does not produce any climate changing emissions. So hydroelectricity does not produce any kind of climate changing emission. The construction of dams does cause significant environmental and social problems, like the temperature change has caused fish kills. So here we see that hydro energy is also, or the hydel energy is also a clean form of energy. It does not cause pollution, just like the coal or wood, but it generates pure or clean energy. Then we move on to the next kind of energy, that is the wind energy. So what is wind energy? Energy that we get through wind is called wind energy. We see that wind blows with such great speed and with such great force, it can derive energy. It is generated through the force of the wind, which spins rotor blades attached to a turbines. So we see there are so many turbines, windmills, which derive electricity. These windmills are moved by the flow of wind, and this, when these blades move, it generates a certain kind of energy, electric energy. The clean and efficient nature of wind energy has seen a rapid expansion in the development of wind farms. China is the world leader in world wind energy with over a third of the world's capacity. So China is again leading the world in this non-conventional form of energy, that is the wind energy. It derives a lot of energy through the wind. Then we move on to the next part, a part of energy, which is the tidal energy. Now, what is tidal energy? Generating electricity from the flow of tides. We see that the sea produces a lot of high tides and low tides, isn't it? So electricity can also be generated from the flow of this water or from these tides. It is produced by making the use of water movement from a huge tide to low tide. Ocean waves and tides can be made to turn a turbine and generate electricity. So this is a common phenomena. How to generate an energy is that the waves of the sea, they move the turbine or they turn the turbine, and once the turbine is turned, it generates electricity. Areas where rivers flow into the sea experiences waves and tides, and electricity can also be generated there. So where rivers are flowing into the sea, we see that rivers, they have their birth or they start in the mountainous regions, and then they flow with great force, and then they come down to the ground level, that is the sea level. And once they are about to reach the sea, we see that the flow of water is very fast, or is very rapid, and so it causes waves and tides in the water, and these waves and tides can also generate electricity. Then we move on to the next form of energy, that is nuclear energy. Radioactive elements like uranium and thorium disintegrates spontaneously, releasing a large quantity of energy. Although the storage of radioactive waste makes the adoption of nuclear energy in many parts of the world problematic. So nuclear energy also is a form of energy which is used to derive electricity. We see that India also has got so many nuclear plants through which we get electricity. Then we move on to the hydrogen energy. Hydrogen is the most common element in the universe and is found in the waster and all living beings. Hydrogen energy involves the use of hydrogen or hydrogen containing compounds to generate energy to be supplied to all practical uses needed with high energy efficiency, overwhelming environmental and social benefits, as well as economic competitiveness. We see that hydrogen energy is also a form of energy. It's also a very cheap form of energy because hydrogen is found on the earth in a very it is the most common element on the universe, and we see that even companies are making cars which will generate energy through the hydrogen. Then geothermal energy, also called hot rock energy, generates electricity by the infection of water into a borehole in rocks with a temperature of at least 200 degrees Celsius. Now, what is this geothermal energy? We see that the Earth's crust is the lower you go into the earth, it becomes hotter and hotter. The temperature becomes very high. So what is done is that a borehole is dug into the rocks and water is injected into it. And this hot water, when it comes in contact with the rock, it forms a steam, and then this steam is used to turn the turbines and generate electricity. Philippines produces 27% of power needs from geothermal energy. So geothermal energy is also a non-conventional form of energy. Geothermal energy is also a cheap and is available everywhere on the surface of the earth. Then we move on to biogas. Now, what is biogas? A renewable fuel produced by the breakdown of organic matter such as food, scraps, and animal waste from living organisms like plants and animals. The gas which we get can be used in a variety of ways, including as vehicle fuel and for heating and electricity generation. It is produced by the microbial activities on cattle dung, a specially designed tank called a digester. This gas contains 55 to 75% of methane. Now, biogas is also a renewable form of energy or renewable form of fuel. Now, what is this biogas? It is produced or it is developed from the breakdown of organic matter such as food, scraps, and animal waste from living organisms like plants and animals. So the leftover food, then the cow dungs and the dung of animals, all this animal waste is generates this kind of energy, what we call as this kind of fuel, which we call as the biogas. The gas which we get can be used in a variety of ways, including as vehicle fuel or for heating and generation of electricity. So we see that there are so many biogas plants in villages where farmers they use their organic matter and animal waste to generate this biogas, and they burn this biogas as a fuel. So this biogas can be used for a variety of purposes, especially for as a vehicle fuel, or for heating, or for electricity generation. It is produced by the microbial activity on cattle dung, a specially designed tank called as a digester. So there is a tank which is made, and all this dirt and all this organic matter is put into it, and then the microbial activity starts on it, and which in this particular digester, and the biogas is released. This gas contains 55 to 70% of methane in it. So this gas contains 55 to 75% methane, which is an inflammable gas. Then forest as natural resource. Forest and trees are vital natural resources upon which people rely for firewood, shelter, and to power machinery and industrial activities. Now, forest as a natural resource. We see that forest plays a very important role for every country and for the life of human beings. We see that the forest gives us so many different things. It gives us fruits. It gives us fruits. It gives us wood. It gives us shelter, and so many things are derived from the forest. Even medicines are generated from the forest. So forest and trees are vital. They are the natural resource upon which people rely for firewood. And from ancient times, people have been using the forest, they have been living in forest, and they have been deriving their daily needs from the forest. Okay, people rely for firewood, then for shelter, and to power machinery and industrial activities. We see that wood is required, wood and trees are required for furniture, for building houses, and for so many other things. In recent years, a modern form of energy derived from biomass known as bioenergy has become more common. Currently, typical sources of biomass include crops, natural forest, and managed tree plantation and agricultural crops. In future, new technologies are likely to produce fuel from a wider range of materials, including algae. So, many plants are planted by which fuel can be generated. So, in the future, the new technologies will produce fuel from a wider range of materials. Also, algae will be used to produce fuel to power our cars and our motorcycles. So, with this, we finish the fourth and fifth topic, that is impact of pollution of pollutants on human health and natural and energy resources. With this, we end with the fourth and fifth topic. If you have any questions, you can ask me on the YouTube channel, or and you can text me if you want. At the same time, if you like this particular presentation, this particular topics and this teaching, you can like it, you can press like button, you can subscribe it, and you can also share it to your friends so that they will also be benefited. Thank you so much and have a good day.